among the pagans, like the Celts, the Germanic tribes, the Baltic peoples, they all had like sacred groves where they would have groves of tree that they considered sacred. This is where the gods dwell. You know, they believed that these trees housed the spirits of the dead.
Just like in Game of Thrones.
Right, and they would allow them to commune with the dead, the tree spirits.
Right.
So, I mean, this was like, they were like, you don't cut these. These are
sacred
trees. You don't touch those, right? Norse mythology also had like a world tree, and they called it Donner's Oak. It was an oak tree, not an evergreen, but it was also like considered Thor's Oak is what the translation of it would be. And what they would do, because Vikings are what they are.
They weren't nice.
They would decorate their trees with human sacrifices.
Of course. I mean, why not?
Yes. And there are actually stories of trees being paraded through town wrapped with the entrails of the defeated foes.
Oh.
So, like, when you think, I'm going to trim the tree with trimmings, it's like, was it trimmings or intestines?
Yeah, like when you put your tinsel around your tree.
Yeah, that came
or garland.
From,
it's actually someone's intestines.
Intestinal garland.
Oh, how sweet and nice.
And then they would set them on fire, so then you have your lit tree with the garland.
Oh.
But they would parade them through town and set them in the middle and light them on fire with the...
What a wonderful tradition.
Intestines wrapped around a tree.
I'm glad we carry that on.
I know, isn't it nice? Because when you think about that, when you look at a Christmas tree, you're going to think,
Now, maybe we should start, like, you should totally start crocheting intestines for trees. We could have a whole morbid Christmas theme going, and we can make stuff.
Crocheted intestine garland.
Yeah, and then I can paint ornaments for it.
Like Link sausage.
Yeah. It'd be fantastic. I think we have something going here. We could do this.
Yeah. Okay. Next year.
We don't have time this year.
No.
We'll start the day after Christmas, though, because we'll never get it done.
I know. But with that, like, thought with the donors, the Thor's Oak is where they would do human sacrifice this time of year. So they would sacrifice a person to bring forth the sun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that, like, was it the sacrifice that made the sun come? Or was it just because it's the wheel of the year, you know?
But we don't know, so we're going to kill someone just in case.
Just in case. And that's really what it was all about.
Yeah, like, if we don't do it, maybe the sun won't come back. Can't let that happen. Not going to find out.
That's true. You got to...
And really, though, thinking back, like, you're thinking about human sacrifice and, like cultures that practiced it. The person being sacrificed, 90% of the time... Like, it was an honor to be the one chosen.
Right.
So they were doing it on their own free will. It wasn't something you forced on them.
And a lot of in the Viking religion, that's like, you immediately went to Valhalla.
Yeah.
Either you were sacrificed or you died in battle.
Yeah, you don't want to die just, eating a leg
choking
of
on a
turkey.
Chicken bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not honorable.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like that show on History Channel, which took a lot of liberties, but the Vikings.
Yeah.
A lot of it was very accurate for the time.
And they were hot. And the women and the men.
I know.
God. I don't know if
Largatha.
they really
Girl crush.
Did you think Vikings look like that?
Probably not. They probably had no teeth.
No, they had no teeth and they smelled real bad.
But
if they look like that, sign me up for
there probably were a few
time machine. Send me back.
They probably were covered with scars and had little to no teeth. Either
and I want
knocked out fighting or they just rotted out.
Someone braid my hair like that.
I actually don't think tooth rot was as big a thing back then because they didn't
live that long.
But they also didn't eat sugar every day.
That's true.
Like if they ate sweets, it was in the summer. It was like apples and stuff.
Yeah, they
they
weren't like baking
cookies.
They
ate a lot of meat.
Yeah,
like grains.
Maybe and vegetables in season. Like they didn't have what was in season.
But they probably had their teeth knocked out a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. And they didn't bathe often.
No.
But they're still... Listen, if you look like... What's his face? The main guy?
Ragnar Lothbrok.
If you look like him, you don't need to bathe. That's okay.
Yeah, you say that. Over there.
Okay, shower first.
I'll admire you from a distance, buddy.
Goodness, that show. Okay.
So anyway,
sorry.
The folklore regarding... And this is actually a real person. The English Benedictine monk... Benedictine, I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Boniface,
okay,
is what they called him, He came upon one of these Viking sacrifices at one of these trees. It was the Thor's oak.
Okay.
And he was so angry by the sight of these people worshiping this tree and killing a person in front of it. He went and he chopped the tree down. And then all the people that stood there thought that Thor was going to strike him with lightning.
Right.
And he didn't.
Right.
So they're like, is this man magic? Like, because they're like...
This Thor is going to kill him.
He didn't die.
Maybe he is Thor.
Maybe, But after this tree was cut down, it said that a evergreen tree grew in it.
In its spot?
Yep, and so that's why this monk said this is a holy tree. Its triangular shape represents the Holy Trinity, and it points to heaven.
I remember from Catholic schooling.
And that's
that,
like
that
where that came from. So he's like, okay, so this is now I'm taking this for Christianity. Like, you can't have it anymore.
That's Samhain, or Samhain.
Yes. Yep.
Samhain.
He lived, he didn't get killed. They also,
Easter, they did the same
like,
thing.
The Germans, let me see here, are the first ones that are known to have brought trees into their house at Christmas time.
Because why the heck, like, you think, why the heck do I bring a cut down tree into my home? Any other time we're trying to keep the outside out. Mm-hmm. And now we're like, let's bring it inside and put candles on it so we can set our house on fire.
Burn our house down. Yeah, but they were the first to use evergreen trees as a Christmas decoration, and that was in the 17th century. So we're talking like 1600s. The same time, we have Puritans in the United States. They were against this. They're like, that is a pagan symbol. We have nothing to do with it.
Puritans want nothing to do with Christmas in general.
So they supported Christmas, but they opposed the pagan influence. They
didn't even celebrate Christmas, though. Really,
they did. They would go to church,
but they didn't do like giving of presents and that kind of thing.
No, it was you go to church and you pray.
The birth of Christ.
I don't even know if I don't think they sang either.
No, they weren't allowed to have fun.
No,
that's fun.
They just went and
they were like the little town in Footloose. They didn't dance. They didn't sing.
Sad. Oliver Cromwell,
mm-hmm.
so we all know who he is, was opposed to the new Christmas tradition of decorating in general, calling it heathen, and it's a pagan mockery.
I bet if we showed up right now, looking like we look with our little headbands,
we were witches.
We would be witches. Which I would be like, yes, finally, I'm identified as a witch.
And then they would hang you or crush you under stones.
Yeah, that's true. That sucks.
They dunk you in the water, and I would definitely float because I got lots of fat.
I would be floating. I'd be floating forever.
They could tie my hands behind my back. I'd still float my ass up to the top.
My boobs alone would float me. I could live weeks.
You could just lay in the water. You don't need to move.
No, I literally can jump in and my boobs float.
But, even as a kid, I was very buoyant. I've always been a floater.
I've always been fat, so that helps.
Yeah, me too.
Which is fine. I don't care.
But in 1659, the General Court of Massachusetts made a law that said celebrating Christmas was illegal. People would be fined if they were caught with any kind of decorations or anything like that. They would have to go to church, and that was it. Mandatory church attendance, but nothing else.
They have no fun. Colonial
and
America sucked.
Right, and they were seen, the trees, evergreen trees in the house, they were seen as pagan symbols as late as 1840 in America. So, America, up until, that's when
the Declaration of Independence was written when?
The 1700s.
Right, so
we were talking 1840. We're talking right before the Civil War.
Oh, yeah, the Civil War. So way past.
We're talking 1840. So, I mean, it's they were considered a pagan symbol up until then. Not that they would be fine. They had all those weird freaking rules, but.
They're so weird.
One thing I forgot to mention. Back, we're talking, the early pagans with the Christmas trees. They were thought, they would bring them inside the evergreen boughs because they were thought to keep away witches and ghosts and evil spirits and illness.
Oh. Isn't it funny how early pagans thought witches were bad, and now witches are pagans?
Yeah,
it's full circle.
It's because a lot of it is
Align's
ignorance.
the same.
It's a lot of ignorance. Is like, oh, if you're not worshiping the way I worship, then you're a
bad.
double worshiper if you don't worship my God. So a lot of it was just like they didn't know, and they were just doing what
someone said that was right.
Right. Exactly. We actually
they did not have the internet.
They did not.
Just in case you were wondering. They couldn't Google.
No. Early Christmas trees were decorated with apples and nuts and cheeses. Some cheese on the tree.
That smelled good.
Cheese?
Yeah, no, I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah. You think it would get varmints in your house. Like, there'd be mice all through your tree eating the cheese and the nuts on the tree.
I mean, I get nuts, like hanging like acorns and stuff and walnuts. That makes sense.
And even apples.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Like you slice oranges and dry the oranges. You make garland from it. Or cinnamon sticks and things like that. That all makes sense. I
don't know if they would have cinnamon sticks. That would be kind of expensive. Because cinnamon came from China, which was like...
Well, now we do that.
Yes. That was a rich people thing.
Yeah. I'm not that.
And a German immigrant, August Imgard, was the person who brought the Christmas tree to America. As we said, Germany was where they
were really
They were the
doing
first
it.
people that were doing the evergreen trees. And he was the first to hang candy canes on it and place a star at the top.
Oh.
Isn't it funny how we know the name of the guy who did it?
Yeah.
Like, he made candy canes and he hung them on his tree and he put a star on the top.
Griffin, when he was... This is kind of side, but Griffin, when he was little, called him candy cane. What do you call him? Wait, I had it in my head when you said it the first time. Candy cans.
Candy cans?
Oh, Mom, I want a candy can. Candy cans.
I can't put candy cans on my tree because I'll just come up with the big wrappers.
Wrappers everywhere.
Like, at least, if you're going to do that, throw the wrappers in the trash. Not only did you eat all the candy off the tree, you left the wrappers on the floor.
Like, that's evidence. It's hide the evidence.
Because my children don't know how to pick up after themselves. Oh, they're terrible.
Kids. Cute. Good thing.
In 1846, Queen Victoria and her German husband, Prince Albert, her German prince...
We all know about Prince Albert.
Yes. They were sketched for the Illustrated London News standing around a Christmas tree with their children. And that was when Christmas trees became
super popular.
Thing. Yes, because Queen Victoria was very popular. Like,
the
people, like her parents, the people before her, were not. She
Right,
was.
she was.
People
Everyone
loved
loved
her.
her.
They wanted to emulate her, hence the Victorian era. Like, she made an era. Like, the Victorian era was because of her. Because people loved her, and they just emulated her, and they wanted to look like her and dress like her and all that.
Stuff.
So, like, her popularity just, like, made Christmas trees fashionable. And it makes sense, like, the same time when they became popular in America, too, because even though America was not part of England, they were very influenced by Queen Victoria.
And there were still people coming over from, immigrating over, bringing those traditions to the U.S. Just like, they brought, like, the Irish and Scottish brought Halloween traditions. German and English brought Christmas traditions over. Like, to share those traditions in the United States. And,
like, oh, they're doing it there. We gotta do it here.
Yeah, we have to be better than them. Mm-hmm. Come on. Well, and also, if you think about
candles on it, and...
if you think about if you ever have seen a Victorian-esque Christmas card or drawing, it always has a Christmas tree in it.
Oh yeah, always. And like Martin Luther, who we all know, German. Mm-hmm. He is said to have, like, the reason why Christmas trees were so popular in Germany was when he was walking. It's said that when he was walking home one night, he was walking through the forest and he looked up through the evergreen trees and saw the stars sparkling through the branches of the trees. And it just made him feel like the joy of Christmas, and he wanted to bring it into his house to show his family. So he brought a tree inside.
He basically created a death trap.
Basically, and he wired candles onto the tree and lit them so that they could have that joy in the house and catch on fire. Yes, but yeah,
most horrifying thing I've ever heard.
With candles, and that's what they did.
You know what happens to a tree when it's cut down, right? It dries out. Yes. And you have fire in your house as it is, so the air is real dry.
Can you imagine how many fires were started?
And they didn't water the tree then. They just shoved it in a corner somehow. They didn't put it in a thing.
Nailed it on like a...
Yeah, they nailed it to wood in like an X or a cross shape. Super dry. let's put some flames in it. Let's just burn our houses. How many house fires were there? I want to know. Did you have that statistic?
I did.
I need to find that.
I should have looked it up, but I